what are things that a person can do to sort of, calm that fire down?
There is a few things. First off, anytime that there is a yetzara that a person has, he has to, first and foremost, take a Sefer Torah, take a Shiur Torah, and press play. That's what the Gemara in Masechet Brachot says, that the yetzara is too big for you. The only way to beat him is with the Torah. So, first thing and foremost, have a lecture ready that you could just simply press play, have a book handy, have a Sefer Tehillim handy, do something, go learn some Torah. If the Yetzirah is too strong and even you're learning Torah, but in reality you're reading, but you're not even understanding anything that you're saying because you're still thinking about that girl or that boy or that this or that. You're still thinking about the sin. You're still thinking about going to McDonald's. You're still thinking about doing all these avirot. Even though you're learning, you're watching a Shiur Torah, but you're thinking about McDonald's the whole time. It happens sometimes. So, the Gemara says, that means you have a big Yetzirah. So, say Shema Yisrael. Why? Ask Hashem, ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu for help. Hashem, I'm trying. I don't want to sin. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Please, Hashem, help me. But sometimes that's not enough. Why? Hashem says, no, son. This one's on you. Why? I want you to pass this test. I want you to pass that test. So the Gemara says, Shema Yisrael doesn't work. Learning Torah doesn't work. Think about the day that you're going to die. Why? Because there's certain things that happen after you die. We learned part of it last week. It's called Chibut HaKever. What happens after a person dies, they go into the grave. If they were righteous, the exit from this world and entrance into the next world is almost like taking a hair out of milk. If the person is full of sins, Hashem yirachem aleinu, it's like taking some type of the thorn out of a sack. Meaning it's going to be really hard. It's going to be really painful. The different malachim, a malach patot, and a malach hamavet, and a malach duma, and all of these malachei chabala, they're all going to rip you apart into 50 zillion pieces, and then put you back together, and then rip you apart again, and Hashem Yirachem. What Rabbi Azulai says, Avraham Azulai says, he says, depending how many sins they make, they get a punishment where these malachim can kill the person, revive him, kill him, revive him, kill him, revive him, kill him, revive him, over and over and over again, depending how many times he made a sin. And this is just in the kever. We didn't get the Gehinom yet. So a person thinks, what's going to happen after I die? Shem Yirachem. Who wants to die like this? Who wants to die like this? And that's not even Gehinom yet. You want to know Gehinom? We have Shiur number 84, Yaron Uven, Gehinom, you go through that 3 hours by listening and studying it, you don't want to go to Gehinom, I promise you. So, what does that mean? That means you have to learn what's going to happen after you die, meaning you have to learn about what you have to fear if you fall for the sin. Once you learn enough about what the sin costs, the desire to sin simply leaves you. It leaves you. Why? You're thinking, wait a minute, they're going to cut me into pieces, huh? They're going to cook me up like a schnitzel. Oh, not schnitzel, barbecue. Oh, shish kebab. Oh, shish kebab. That's what they're going to do to me, little pieces. Oh, Shem, who wants to do this? He has to have, mamash, the Mesilat Yesharim says, have a vivid imagination and use it to know what's going to happen. Like all those scary movies that people saw, yeah, it's much scarier. Think of that before you sin. Why? You're not going to want to sin anymore. You're not going to want to sin anymore. Why? It's not worth it. So now, a person needs to do that. Now, sometimes that's hard for a person to do because they don't even know Gehinom exists, or the rabbi says there's no Gehinom, or all types of things that make it difficult to even know that these punishments even exist. And that's why the Rambam in Ilchot Deot, chapter 6, Halacha number 2, says that it's a positive commandment to cleave onto the wise and their disciples in order to learn from their deeds, as it says in Deuteronomy 10:20, and you shall cling to him, meaning you should glue yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the sages ask, what do you mean? How is it possible for a human being to cling to the divine presence. How can you cling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? How can you glue yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And the answer is, they resolve the difficulty by explaining that this commandment, this is an obligation to glue yourself to Hashem. It's not like a recommendation. Obligation to glue yourself to Hashem. So how can we fulfill this mitzvah if Hashem is fire? How can we glue ourselves to fire? Chachamim say, the answer is, to fulfill this commandment means to cleave yourself onto the wise, to the Talmidei Chachamim and their disciples. Therefore, one should try to marry the daughter of a Torah sage, marry his daughter to a Torah sage, meaning to a Talmid Chacham. He should have his daughter married to a Talmid Chacham. He should marry a Talmid Chacham. He should eat and drink with Talmidei Chachamim. He should do business with Talmidei Chachamim. Associate with Talmidei Chachamim. In all possible ways, cling to the Talmidei Chachamim is in essence, what does it mean, clinging to Hashem? That's why the Talmidei Chachamim, the sages, have directed us, saying, sit in the dust of their feet and drink in their words thirstily. Meaning, always surround yourself with Talmidei Chachamim. So wait, so we just said there's a problem. Sometimes the person is mistaken because of the rabbi. The rabbi told him there's no Gehenom. The rabbi told him that everybody goes to Gan Eden. Hence, we see what the halakha says. The halakha says, Talmidei Chachamim. Talmidei Chachamim don't say there's no Gehenom. Talmidei Chachamim don't say there's no, everybody goes to Gan Eden. People say it. They can call themselves whatever they want. They call themselves a rabbi, they call themselves Pikachu. I don't care what they call themselves. But anyone that tells you there's no punishment is not Talmid Chacham. So you have to find a Talmid Chacham. You have to find somebody that understands there is reward, there is punishment. Why? That is what our Torah says countless times. Countless times. And we have to literally be under the feet of the Talmidei Chachamim because they are our only saving grace. They're the only thing that's going to save us from ourselves, from our Yetzer Hara. A person needs to make sure to take advantage, any advantage they can, of being next to Talmid Chacham. I can tell you what I do. Right now, we're going to finish this year shortly, and you're all going to go home. Some of you are going to go to sleep. Some of you are going to do a few things before you go to sleep. But for the most part, people are going to go to sleep. What I try to do is after I go home, upload the video. Then at that point, wait till about the time that Rav Ephraim is on the road, and that's when him and I start talking. Why? He's on the road. He's on the road going to Kollel. It's maybe 20 minutes walk, 30 minutes walk. That's 20, 30 minutes that I can talk to him. About what? Anything he wants. Why? That's 20 minutes I can get with a Talmid Chacham. That's 20 minutes I get with Talmid Chacham. I don't care if he tells me about nothing, which never really happens, but the point is, I'll be there. That's why the Hasidim, they're constantly following their Rebbe. Why? They want to see how he lives. Not just his shurim only, but how does he live? What does he do here? How does he shop? How does he this? How does he that? There's even sipurim in the Gemara. There's stories in the Gemara that the Talmidim of the Chachamim would want to even learn how the Chachamim are even with their wives. So one of them hid under the bed of one of the Chachamim. Hid under the bed just to see how does he act with his wife when they're intimate. But the Chacham saw, hey, what are you doing? He kicked him out. He goes, wait, I want to learn, Chacham. He goes, oh, learn. What learn? What learn? Not here. I'll teach you in the kollel, not here. The point is that they didn't do it because of perverted reasons. They did it because they loved the Chachamim. They understood that you can learn a lot from the Chachamim. You can learn a lot from them. So if your rabbi is a Chacham that says that there is reward and punishment, and that Hashem loves you, but at the same token, he has rules. He has a Torah. And he wants to reward you, but he's only going to reward you under certain conditions. He doesn't want to punish you, but he has to punish you under certain conditions. If you have such a person, and that person happens to be a rabbi, Chazaku Baruch, glue yourself to that person as often as possible. If you don't have, find one. Find one. That's why the Mishnah in Avot says, Aseh lecha rav, find yourself a rabbi. Now everybody has to have several rabbis. You can't have just one rabbi. And the reason why is because you have to have multiple rabbis in Judaism. First and foremost, if you're Sfaradi, Ashkenazi, you have to have your posek. Which halacha you go by. So you have the poskim, not just of the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah, but you also have modern day poskim, with Rav Yashiv, the Chafetz Chaim, you have Rav Ovadia, and so on and so forth. You have certain poskim that you go by, you hold by. The ones that have modernized or applied modern day to the Shulchan Aruch and telling you how to use the Shulchan Aruch from 500 years ago in today's world. You have modern day poskim. They don't need to be alive. Most of the time, the big ones, and unfortunately for us, for the most part, are gone. We have their books, we have their Torah, they're living forever as far as their Torah is concerned, but their bodies are no longer here, so you can't call them. But you have to have one like that. You can't pick and choose. On Mondays and Wednesdays, you go with Rav Ovadia. On Tuesdays and Wednesdays, you go with Rav Yashiv. On Shabbat, you something else. On Sunday, you can't. You have to pick one. It's Asel Charav. Someone that wants to pick his rabbis like he's picking, shorts and t-shirts in a store, that's a rasha. Why? The Gemara Masechet Rosh Hashanah says, you cannot pick the leniencies of Bet Shammai and the leniencies of Bet Hillel, and you cannot pick the stringencies of Bet Shammai and the stringencies of Bet Hillel. You can't do that. Why? If you pick the stringencies of both, whoever's more stringent. If Bet Hillel is stringent, and I'm going to go with him. If Bet Shammai is more stringent, I'm going to go with him. Say, no, you're like a blind person in a night. Like a blind person at night. Why, you want to be stringent? Why, do you think that makes you tzaddik? No, you need to know how to apply halakha. Any fool can tell you to be stringent about everything. That's not halakha. That's not what we're supposed to do. Don't torture yourself. Don't torture yourself. Oh yeah, no, I want to be stringent. I want to, walk around with no, take my eyes out. Okay, how are you going to learn Torah then? There was one guy, it's a true story, maybe 20 years ago, was walking around with a couple of Hasidim, new in the neighborhood, and he saw the Hasidim were holding him hand by hand. So one of the rabbis that we know saw him, he goes, asked another rabbi, who's that? Who's this guy? He said, oh, that's tzaddik. Okay, who is he? Because no, it's one of my students. He goes, a student? He goes, yeah. He goes, what's with the Hasidim? He goes, no, he wants to watch his eyes, so he has covered his eyes. Like the Magid Miduvna, he wants to cover his eyes, nothing. He wants nothing, he always go like this, so he has something covering his eyes. And so he doesn't know where he's going to walk. He doesn't want to see any woman at all. So he has two people walking him to the shul. So he says to him, can you believe this? What a great student I have. Only 6 months Baal Tshuva. And the Rav says to him, you see him 6 months Baal Tshuva? My prediction, it's not going to be too long before he sins with married women. So, hey, no, come on, you're talking about my student. It's my student. It's not nice. It's Lashon Hara. No, okay, okay. That's what I say. Listen. Not 6 months passed. Not 6 months passed. He comes to him, he goes, how did you know? How did you know? He goes, what? What happened? He goes, remember that thing? The guy, they cover his eyes with the two people? He goes, yeah. Yeah, they just caught him. He was with 6 different married women. He goes, because you cannot just jump and become one of the tzaddikim gdolei hador in 6 months. Cover your eyes as if, wow, who asked you to cover your eyes like that? Look down. No one says, look at anything that moves. You saw something that's not applicable for you to see, look away. Why, covering your eyes? Would you one of the chachamim from the Gemara? Who are you, Bichlal? 6 months, do you even know Aleph Bet yet? So, it's very, very important to have a rabbi that's going to be alive and direct you. And let you know what you are capable of doing. So you have the Pusek, and then you have the Rav that's alive, that's going to guide you and tell you yes or no. So if you want to sleep less, you ask the rabbi, can I sleep less? If you want to read a new book, you ask the rabbi, can I read this new book? Yes, you have to ask the rabbi for permission. Why? What if you decide to read a book that's not in your level, and that book, the rabbi knows enough that that book is going to ruin you? A lot of people that become kufrim, you'll see one common element. They've all read Guide of the Perplexed. The Rambam's Guide of the Perplexed. Now Rambam is Kodesh Kodeshim. Alvai, we are a piece of dust that he's going to walk on, or he walked on one time in his life. Alvai. We can graduate to be a piece of dust that he walked on one time in his life, 900 years ago. His book is Kodesh Kodashim. But if you are not a Talmid Chacham, where you're biki, expert in Gemara, expert in Halacha, expert in ideology and Musar, mamash, expert, like Talmid Chacham Kadosh, you're not allowed to even look at that book. Why? It'll confuse you to an extent that it could actually literally make you an atheist. An atheist. Why? It's very, very high level. Or better yet, people love to read the Zohar. People love to read the Zohar. Why? Because there's some commentary. We know from Maria Kadosh certain beautiful things. Yeah, but he himself says, unless you're Talmid Chacham, and you have certain requirements, you've gone over the entire Shas, and not just you read it to Daf Yomi with your rabbi for an hour a day, and you only listened for 5 minutes. Talmid Chacham, you went over the entire Zohar, the entire Gemara, the entire Shulchan Aruch, all the Poskim. You know what you're doing. People ask you questions, you know the answers. You also live a life of Kedusha. You're a holy person. You watch your breath, you watch your eyes, you watch your behavior, you watch what you eat. You watch every single thing. You, mamash, a holy person. And you are married, and you're 40 years old, and a lot of different things. You have certain requirements, don't even look at the Zohar. Why? It'll confuse you to no end. You can read certain midrashim within the Zohar that's applicable for everybody. But as far as going from the whole thing, reading the names of the malachim, reading the Kabbalah stuff, you're going to read it, it's only a matter of time before you're Mechalel Shabbat. Why? You're not going to know what to do. And it's going to confuse you. It's not on your level. So you have to ask your rabbi, can I do this? 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 Why? Because if the rabbi really is a Talmid Chacham, he's going to tell you whether you really can or can't. Whether you really can or can't. Now, if you have your ego is bigger than your rabbi, then nothing's going to help you. You're going to do, no, my rabbi doesn't understand. I'm already at that level. I'm already at that level. I know one guy, he says to me, listen, I tried Gemara. I don't like it, so I only read the Zohar. I tried Gemara. I don't like it, so I only read the Zohar. I said, Shem Merachem Alav. I said, who's your rabbi? He goes, no, I don't have one. I said, oh, that's why. That's why. That's why. Why? If you had a rabbi, the rabbi would tell you, take that Zohar, put it back in a Bet Midrash. You're not allowed to look at it. Why? You have to learn Gemara. You have to learn Musar. You have to learn Halacha. You have to learn these things. You have to learn the stuff you're obligated to do, not the stuff that you're not obligated to do. Now, there's beautiful things in the Zohar that we mention in lectures. These are things that are allowed. But, again, like I said, first you have to take advantage and fulfill the role that you're obligated to do, not the role that you're not obligated to do. Same thing goes with several other different types of Kabbalistic books. There are certain books that are fantastic to read. There are certain books that you simply shouldn't touch until you are a really serious Talmid Chacham. So you have to have a living rabbi that's going to guide you, tell you yes or no, someone that knows you, someone that knows your individual situation, someone that's going to tell you yes or no, and that's someone you have to listen to them like you listen to God. Not that chas v'shalom they're God, but the Gemara says you have to fear your rabbi like you fear God. Why? Because if he's really your rabbi, and he's a Talmid Chacham, and what he's telling you is in essence what Hashem is saying. So if he says something, whether you understand it or not is irrelevant. Whether you agree with it or not is irrelevant. He says jump, you say how high. How many people in the world can actually exist like that? Most people are like, Rabbi, can I do this? No. Okay, Rabbi, I'm getting a new rabbi. Oh, I had a fantastic thing the other day happen to me. So I said, Rabbi, I need your help. I said, 4 o'clock in the morning. You need help 4 o'clock in the morning? Yeah, no, it's emergency. I need Talmid Chacham. Okay, what? You asked a tough question. Maybe a tough question. We got the answer, Baruch Hashem. You would think, 4 o'clock in the morning, you get somebody an answer. Pikuach Nefesh question. Give somebody an answer. 4 o'clock in the morning. Thank you. Chacham, Rabbi, thank you. What? Laila Tov, something. Right? Oh, yeah? All right, let me double check. Maybe I could get in touch with this other rabbi, because he says he has connections with Rav Kanievsky, and he has connection with Rav Mazuz, and he has connections with that one. I want to double check. Why did you ask me at 4 o'clock in the morning? If you're not going to take it, don't ask Da'at Torah unless you are willing to accept it. Why? It's not good. It's not good. Which means, if you have a rabbi, you have to literally just says jump, you say aye. That's how I am with my rabbi. That's one of the biggest secrets that I believe that's our life. Why? There's plenty of times that have happened that I wasn't exactly happy with my rabbi's decision. I wasn't exactly happy with what he told me to do. And my ego is bigger than this room. I was on Wall Street after all. I was an executive. I was the guy that called the shots. People worked for me. I didn't work for them. So somebody tells me that's even younger than me what to do. It wasn't easy to take. But I knew I didn't know what I was talking about. Why? He's the rabbi. He already learned the shas countless times. He knows this, he knows that, he knows all these things. I'm still learning Aleph Bet. What do I know, Bichlal? What do I know? He says this is right. I don't need to know why he thinks it's right. I don't need to know why he thinks it's right and why I don't think it's right. I just know that he's right. Why? That's the way it works. You go learn the shas 10, 20 times, you'll be right too. The point is, Rabotai, is that a lot of people don't want it. Why? They want to do what they want to do. They think the Torah is like something you pick and choose, like you're going to a library. Oh yeah, this book, I'll buy this one, and I'll buy that one. It's on a discount. Oh, 20% off. Okay, I'll buy this one. Yeah, I'll read all these books, and they have a library of books in their house, and they read 6 pages of that one, 9 pages of that one, the middle of that one, the last 2 paragraphs of this one, and yeah, this one, it's only 30 pages, so I read the whole thing. And they think they're Talmidei Chachamim. So don't kid yourself. You have to make sure that you put your head down. Rabbi says you do. It's hard. I can tell you from my experience, it's hard. It's hard every day till this day. But that's the secret. That's the secret. If it's Talmid Chacham, again, not just somebody that calls himself rabbi. So point is that you have to have someone that's a posek. You have to have a living rabbi that's going to guide you, influence you. You could also have somebody that's a rabbi or just simply a Talmid Chacham that you're learning with as a chavruta, somebody you could learn with. You could also have another rabbi, it's the rabbi of the Keilah. It doesn't necessarily need to be your rabbi, he's just a rabbi that perhaps maybe once in a while you ask him halachic questions, you exchange ideas, he tells you allowed, not allowed, different basic things, where can I find this, where can I find that. So you're going to have multiple rabbis, but the 2 key ones that you have to have and you simply can't live without is 1, you have to go by a certain posek, and 2, you have to go by a certain rabbi that's going to be your specific rabbi, that's going to be your influencer. Those are the 2 main ones. The other ones generally are exchangeable, they change over time. You move away, your chavruta is usually not going to come with you. You move away, that rabbi that has the keilah over here is not moving away with you. So certain things are going to change over time. But those 2 other ones generally are not supposed to change. Those are not supposed to change. But those are usually the most difficult relationships to maintain. Why? Because they hurt your ego the most. They hurt your ego the most. They make you feel like you're this big the most. And the reason why is because you learned the halakha doesn't make any sense to you. But you know that Rav Ovadia said that. So who are you next to Rav Ovadia? 0. Nothing. So if he said it, that's it. It's allowed. Not allowed. Allowed, not allowed. Whatever he said, it's allowed. Why? You go do what he did. You go learn as much as he did, and you'll be right also. Reality is, you see, okay, why did he say allowed, not allowed? And then you look at his book, and you see that he has 150, 200, 300, 400 different sources over the last 2,000 years that remembers over the top of his head to prove his case. You go remember 5 sources, maybe I'll give you a reward. I'll give you a plastic reward. You can walk around, I have an award, look, I know 5 things. He knows a few hundred off the top of his head just for one answer. He had a radio show back in, I think it was the 60s, 70s. And they recorded recorded the show and ended up publishing a bunch of books. People would call into the show, and they would ask him questions. And he would give him the halachic questions. Talmidei Chachamim would ask him questions, and he would give him answers with sources. 50, 150, 300, 400 sources off the top of his head. And every so often, the guy that was the host of the radio show would say, Rabotai, I just want to tell you, the rabbi does not have any books in front of him, nor does he know any of the questions ahead of time. And he would literally give you sources of all of the poskim over the last 1,000 years, 1,500 years, off the top of his head. For any questions you asked. You guys are impressed by what? I know a few questions you asked me about yes or no, or whether Hashem is going to help you or not. What do I know, B'chal? It's a person who knew Torah be'emet. So if he said yes or no, your ego minimized. That's because you think you should even have an ego. So same concept goes with when it comes to the delivering rabbi, because sometimes the delivering rabbi is going to tell you to do things that you don't really want to do. He's going to tell you that you need to move to a certain place. He's going to tell you that you need to dress a certain way. He's going to tell you to read something you don't feel like reading. He's going to tell you to even learn how to sleep, learn how to go to the bathroom. Basic things that most people think that as men, as women, we should know by ourselves. No, you don't. He'll tell you to go say I'm sorry to your wife after she yelled at you. She yelled at you, but he's going to tell you to go say I'm sorry to your wife. Come on, Rabbi, I thought you were on my side. No, I'm not on your side. I'm on the side of Shlom Bait. I'm on the side of Shlom Bait. That's what I'm on the side of. Go tell your wife I'm sorry. Yeah, but she's the one that yelled. Exactly. She yelled at you. Yeah. Okay, go say I'm sorry. What? He yelled at you? Go say I'm sorry. Why? But he's the one that yelled at me. He came into the house like some monster, yelling, screaming for no reason. I've been working all day, taking care of the kids. He comes to me like some gargamel. Comes to the house, what? Treats me like I'm some shifcha, some cleaning lady. Yells at me that I didn't cook. It's not hot enough. It's not this. And you want me to go say I'm sorry, Rabbi? Yes. Why? Shlom Bait. Yeah, but he's wrong. Okay, so say I'm sorry then. So what happens when I'm right? Say I'm sorry also. What happens if I'm wrong? You say I'm sorry also. Regardless, you say I'm sorry. Why? Shlom Bait. Do you want to be right? Or you want to be married? Which one you want? So sometimes the rabbi is going to tell you that. He's going to tell you to go and minimize your ego and make yourself into nothing and go say I'm sorry. It's hard, but it's necessary. So this, Rabotai Karim, is the most critical tool that a person can have. As far as their tshuva, as far as their life in this world, they have to glue themselves to a Talmid Chacham, and if they could have an opportunity to have even multiple Talmidei Chachamim, they should have. But last thing I would mention about this topic, and I think we'll finish for the night unless you guys have some pressing questions, is that if you're going to ask multiple Talmidei Chachamim, multiple rabbis the questions, you have to know that there are actually ethical rules that comes with questions. Meaning, if you have a question, doesn't matter what the question is, and you've already asked one rabbi, and whether you liked what he said or not is irrelevant. You got an answer, and you want to add a second opinion, a third opinion, a fourth opinion. You want to ask, Rabbi, can I? You have to, the second time you ask that question, you have to give that rabbi that you're asking the question the answer you got from a different rabbi. At the same time that you're asking the question, Rabbi, can I do such and such? And then add, Rabbi so-and-so said yes. You're not allowed to ask the question without giving them the answer. That's a sin from the Torah. That's putting an obstacle in front of a blind. Why? Because it is possible that that rabbi gave you an answer because he knows you better, so he gave you a specific answer. And this rabbi that doesn't know you as well is not going to give you that answer. And it may make him look like he's wrong. And he's not wrong. He's right, generally speaking, just not for your case. Or perhaps he knows you better and the other guy doesn't know you. The point being is that if you already have an answer, you have to give the answer with the question. You have to give the answer with the question. If you don't have an answer, you don't have an answer. But if you can ask multiple rabbis questions, you have to have some patience. Ask one at a time, get the answer, then ask the second one. Don't be like spam. Send your question to 87 different rabbis on email and hope all of them answer. And then compare and contrast whose answer is what. Aside from being annoying, that also makes you unethical. So remember, there's a very famous story, the boy that cried wolf. Eventually nobody answered him. Eventually nobody answered him, but the wolf actually came. You understand? So it's important to, you have to glue yourself to Talmidei Chachamim, but you also have to remember the Talmidei Chachamim. Be careful, because when they bite like the fox. That's what the Mishnah in Avot says. They bite. They're fire. So that means that if you are going to go on the wrong side of a Talmid Chacham, It's not a good idea. It's not a good idea. Some of the stories you hear from the Gemara, for example, Rabbi Yochanan, he thought one Talmid was making fun of him. He thought one Talmid was in a crowd. One Talmid was in the crowd, and the Talmid had a split lip, so it looked like he was always smiling. So Rabbi Yochanan, who was old, looked at him and he thought that he's making fun of him. Because of his kedusha, he looked at him with his eyes, he died on the spot. Now it's not murder. It's not because he's not. Rabbi Yochanan didn't want to kill him, but because of his holiness, the fact that he upset him because he's making fun of him, Hashem says, oh, he has no right to live. But then when he found out that he's not making fun of him, he put him back, he resurrected him from the dead. But the point being, Rabotai, is that even though this is a story from 1,500, 2,000 years ago, the point is it teaches us that we have to be careful with Talmidei Chachamim. We can't just treat them like it's an average Joe. And a lot of people do this. It's very common, especially with the internet age, where it's so easy to send questions to 87 different rabbis on WhatsApp or on email like it's spam. Don't do that. Ask the question, be patient, and and you'll get the answer. And when you get the answer, you want to ask another opinion, second opinion, there's no problem. You can ask for 1,000 opinions. But you have to include them with the question. Because that way, the people that are answering you are going to decide also, not necessarily just, how to answer you, but whether to answer you. Sometimes they'll just decide not to answer you. Why? Because you already have an answer. There's no need. Somebody else needs the time.